All right, so solving systems by substitution, you can think of it as solving systems by evaluating or plugging in. If you're given an example, let's just say where you have y equals 3x and y equals x minus 2, what you notice is y is already by itself for both equations. Since y is by itself, it's in y equals mx plus b, technically you're going to plug in one of them into the other. This is similar to what you do when you had multi-step equations in word problems. You're going to hear things like the same. At what point is this situation the same as this situation? Well, right here it says y equals 3x. So what I recommend you do is for the first one, if y is by itself, go ahead and pull out what is y worth. Y is worth 3x. And then go to the next system and say, okay, for this equation of the system, the y is in this position. Where that y is where you're going to plug in this guy. So if I were to tell you y is equal to 3, you would plug in 3 right here. Well, for this, it's saying y is equal to 3x. So where you see the y, 3x is going to get plugged in right there. So now you see that all I did was I plugged in what they said y was worth into the position for y of the second equation. Once you have this here, you notice the y's got eliminated. So that means you are solving for the x piece of the ordered pair. And to do that, you're just going to use inverse operation. So this technically means 3x equals x minus 2. At this point, you're going to use inverse op to get x alone. You're going to isolate the variable, which is going to give you the value for x. So if you have x on this side, we want to move x's over here. So it's going to be minus x, 3x minus an x gets me 2x left over equals negative 2. Now that I have this, I need to still get x by itself. To do that, I see it's x times 2, so then divide by 2. What you do to one side, do to the other. Negative 2 divided by positive 2 is negative 1. I now know that for the solution, my x value is negative 1, but I still do not have my y value. To get the y value, it doesn't matter which equation you pick, but just pick one and then plug in the x. I usually take the first one. So I'm going to rewrite 3x, but this time I'm going to plug in the x. So once you figure out the solution here, now you're going to plug this guy in. Okay, well, when you plug him in, what you notice is you've now eliminated the x's because you're solving for the y. And 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. I now have my solution to the system. The point at which these two equations will intersect and meet will be at negative 1, negative 3. For this example, y equals x plus 1, and then 4x plus y equals 6, you should notice that only one equation has y by itself. So that's the one I'm going to use to plug into the other one. If you had just x by itself, just remember, you can also plug in for x. You just need to make sure that at least one variable is by itself. So since this says y equals x plus 1, then I know this is going to get plugged in where I see my y, because it says y equals. So you have to plug in for y. Okay, now what I'm going to do is when I plug in, you want to remember parentheses just in case. And then all you're going to do at this point is use Pemdas. If there was a number here, I would have to distribute, but since there's not, this is technically 1. So that's 1x plus 1. 4x plus 1x is 5x plus 1 equals 6. I still need to isolate my x, so in order to do that, I must get rid of everything else. So minus 1. So 5x equals 5. Divide by 5, divide by 5. My x equals 1. Now I have the x, but I need to figure out what is going to be the actual single value for the y. In order to do that, once you find one variable, you go back, take the equation, so y equals x plus 1, and this time you're going to plug it in or evaluate for that x position. So now it's y equals 1 plus 1, y equals 2. Now that I have my x and my y, I know that my solution for this is 1, 2. What does the solution mean? That's at the point at which these two lines will intersect each other. All right, so for example 3, notice that x does not equal a number, nor does y. So you can choose, again, do you want to plug in for the x or do you want to plug in for the y? So I'm going to show you the two different ways that you could solve this problem. Let's just say I want to put it into y equals mx plus b for one of them, just because I'm used to that. So what I'm going to notice is this one here, I'm going to take it down and go x plus 2y equals negative 1. Then this guy, he's not in y by himself. So how do I get y by himself? Well, I would have to subtract x. So then you get negative y equals negative x plus 5. But you still have a negative here. So that means you must get rid of it. So you divide by negative 1, and then you divide by negative 1 over here. So in the end, when you inverse op, you get y equals positive x minus 5. So the first step to do is inverse op to get one equation with y by itself. Now you are ready to solve the system. Now that you have y by itself, okay, I can see that I'm going to plug in this here right in the y position. So when I rewrite it, x plus 2, now I plug in this guy right there, x minus 5 equals negative 1. Now that I am here, I'm going to use Pemdas. I see 2 is on the outside of the parentheses. That means I must use distributive property. So x drops down, 2 times x is plus 2x. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10 equals negative 1. Now I continue with inverse operation to get x by itself. So I'm going to add 10 here, I'm going to add 10 here. And I'm going to combine these two to make 3x equals, lost 1, had 10, you have 9. Now to get x by itself, since it's x times 3, I'm going to divide by 3 to both sides. So then x is equal to 3. Now that I have my x value, I know that within this ordered pair, the x value is going to be 3. I now need to plug in that input into the first equation. So 3 plus 2y equals negative 1. So that I can now solve for the y. How do I get y by itself? I have to use inverse operation. So minus 3 gets me 2y equals lost 1, lost 3, lost 4. To get y by itself, you must continue inverse operation. So divide by 2, divide by 2. Negative 4 divided by positive 2 is negative 2. I now have my y value. The solution to this system is at 3, negative 2. What does that mean? That is the point that satisfies both equations of the system. It's the point at which you should see when graphed that these lines intersect. So let's just say you notice looking at this problem that there was no slope or any number connected to the x. That means it's going to be a lot easier to get x by itself in order to plug in. So for example, if I were to this time go ahead and take this top one again, and instead of getting y by itself, I want to get x by itself, all I would have to do is make it x equals 5 plus y when you inverse op. So I just had to do plus y plus y. It's a lot faster. Now I'm ready to go. So it does not matter if you plug in x or y, but now that I see it says x is equal to something, that's a different value, which means I must plug this in where x is. All right, so how do I plug that in? 5 plus y plus 2y equals -1. All I did was took and plugged that in that position right there. Now that I have this here, I can go ahead and combine like terms. So 1y plus 2y is 3y. So this is 5 plus 3y equals -1. Now, to get y by itself, I need to move the 5 because it's not attached. So -5 minus 5. So 3y equals lost 1, lost 5, lost 6. To get y by itself, I now need to divide by 3. Divide by 3. Y equals -2. Notice you got the exact same thing. So it does not matter if you choose, it's whatever one you can get using inverse operation to say either x equals something or y equals something. That's the key. Once you get them by themselves, you just plug them in and solve for the variable. Now that I have my y, I can then go back to the original equation and plug it in. So x plus 2 times -2 equals -1. 2 times -2 is -4. Then if you add 4 to both sides, what you should notice is that you get the exact same x. So which way you choose, it doesn't matter. You will still get the fact that the solution is 3, -2. So if you were to get a real world example or word problem, you're going to find out that it's usually going to be looking at 2 different situations or things and finding out what point they will be the same. So for example, if Jenna was deciding on a cell phone company to go with, and she was debating about buying between 2 different programs. She had plan A that would charge her $50 just to sign up, plus $20 a month. Or she can go with the plan B, which is $30 to sign up and then $25 per month. And at how many months would these guys end up being the same? And then what would that actual cost be when they would be the same? So what you have to do is first pick out what is the equation here. And to do that, you have to look at words in math. So for plan A, we're going to put plan A up at the top, and we're going to put plan B as my second equation. For plan A, it says y equals 50 sign up fee and 20 per month. This is a flat rate. So I'm going to put that in the B position. That's my y-intercept. So just to sign up for the phone, you have to pay $50. You haven't even had it for a month. And then you have to find the rate, that's your slope, which is 20. And per month, that's your x. So your x stands for the months. Beyond that, if you look at the question, how many months, the question will always tell you what the variable is. So since it says how many months will they be the same, same means equal. So that you have the first equation. The second equation, y equals, this time your flat rate to sign up is $30. That's your y-intercept. And you have to pay a rate of $25 per month. $25 per month. And again, your x represents the months. Now I have my two equations. So the important words for the given would be your $50 and means plus 20 per month. 50, then $30 and means plus $25 per month. Those would tell you how to write out your equation. Now that you have this here, you now need to use substitution to figure out what the other is. Well, they are saying the two plans are the same. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to plug in 20x plus 50 right where the y is into the other. So you're basically just setting them up equal to each other. If you look at it, it's just saying this guy has to equal this guy. In other words, this represents plan A has to equal plan B. If you notice, I just substituted the equations. Okay, I don't see any y there. Perfect. Now I know I'm solving for x. How do I do that? Inverse operation. I'm going to do minus 20 here, minus 20 here. And then I'm going to do minus 30 here, minus 30 here. So I'm moving numbers over here, x's over there. All right, that makes 0. 50 minus 30 is 20. That makes 0. 25x minus 20x makes 5x. To get x by itself, you must divide by 5 to both sides, so your x equals 4. Now that I have what my ordered pair, my input, my x value, in other words, the months, now I need to solve to figure out what the cost is. Okay, in order to do that, you go ahead and take, it really doesn't matter which equation, but I always take the first one. So y equals 20, x plus 50, and you're going to plug in for that x position. So y equals 20 times the 4 plus 50. Then you multiply. 4 times 20 is 80 plus 50 equals y. That means that y equals 80 plus 50. So 80, 90, 100, 130. And 130 would be the solution for your y values. And again, what does this 130 stand for? That's going to be the cost at which they'll be the same. So in 4 months, whether she picks plan A or plan B, they will be $130. So they will be the same at 4 months for a cost of $130. If I were to ask you which plan she should go with, so if you're ever debating between companies, set them up for the same amount of time. Let's just say that she gets the plan for 1 year. What you would do is for X for each of them, plug in 12 and then see what one's cheaper. So for example, if I was to say a month for plan A, well, 12 times your 20 is $240 plus 50, that's $290 for the year. Where if you were to plug in 12 for this guy, so then you have the 12 times the 25, which is $300 plus that would be $330. Would you rather pay $330 or $290? I'd rather pay $290. So even though at 4 months they will both be the same, which is the cost of $130, the cheaper plan for her to go with for an annual year phone membership would be plan A.